It's the top of the hour. Putting the U in HBCU. We are HSRN. You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. We have gotten through Christmas and we're in the midst of Kwanzaa. And I want to say happy holidays to all of you out there listening to the show today. I really appreciate you spending a little bit of time away from your family, or maybe you are with your family or you're traveling or whatnot. So thank you very much. And thank you for supporting me in 2021. Hopefully we do some great things in 2022. We're about a day away, or maybe a little bit under a day away now at this point to New Year's Day. And we're wanting to catapult you the best way we can from 2021 into the best you in 2022. And I am so excited that we have this person here with us, and we had a chance to bring him back. Was able to take some time away from his family to drop some knowledge on you guys about entrepreneurship and how you can live your best life in 2020, building your own business, growing it, and doing some amazing things. We're talking with founder and owner of LCP Transportation, Ron Robinson. LCP Transportation, multi-million-dollar revenue business, risk-based non-emergency transportation. They do medical transport. He's done that for 22 years. Real estate investor, builder, developer, philanthropist, former professional athlete. He's done a lot of different things. I really kind of want to get into this a little bit because I think a lot of African American people are getting into entrepreneurship because they want better opportunities for themselves. Maybe there is a glass ceiling with their employer, or maybe, they just want to be able to provide and do better than maybe their family has had before. From your perspective, I know a lot of people have talked about this great resignation, and has that really even affected what you have going on? Because I know you have 100 employees, from dispatchers, the drivers, to people that do all of those other things that we don't see on the front lines. But has that really affected you? And how can somebody what has that great resignation meant for you and your company?
Well, it has, and I think it has affected every business in the United States. And the reality is we're probably not going to go back to what we know it to be prior to. It'll probably end up being something slightly different than what it used to be. And the reason why I say that is because now it's kind of been turned on its side. People have learned how to make it by doing multiple different things, and basically getting some of their time back. A lot of people have went from working in an office environment for 8 hours to working at home. So now they understand and they feel that sense of they have a lot of freedom, and they like that freedom. And they still can also generate the revenue that they need in order to feed their families and do the things they want to do. But yes, it has affected my business in a challenging way. It's much more difficult to obviously find qualified individuals to do the work that needs to be done at the price that we have in our budgets for those particular jobs descriptions and jobs. So the challenge is once again making the adjustments on the fly, and whoever makes the adjustments the quickest and the best is going to win. It's that sounds very similar to sports. Whomever comes out with the best game plan, and then as the game is going on, makes the proper adjustments during the game, same way with business, the challenges that we're seeing now are real. We can't ignore them, and we can't just put our head in the sand and say, well, it's going to go back to normal here soon, so we'll just ride it out. No, business has probably changed as we know it forever to a different type of look, and so we have to make the necessary adjustments in order to stay viable. And, that's the wonderful thing about the capitalist society that we live within. For all the things that you can say about America, and in the United States, the one thing that you can hang your hat on is that the capitalist society is really built on, you being able to get out there and kind of make your way. You can be homeless like Tyler Perry on one day and then be a billionaire the next. And it's possible. It's definitely difficult, and it definitely has its challenges. But the wonderful thing about America is that you do have that ability to do that if you have the dedication and the discipline and the focus. Mm-hmm. And the opportunities, the opportunities that come about. I mean, so that's kind of what I want to say for that.
Mm-hmm. We're going to continue this conversation with Ron Robinson, founder and owner of LCP Transportation. I'm so excited to get into this conversation here. We'll come back and we'll have some more one-on-one conversation with Ron. We'll be right back on GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Welcome back, everybody, to Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. We're having a one-on-one conversation with founder and owner of LCP Transportation, Ron Robinson, who is an entrepreneur, a philanthropist. He is a real estate investor and developer, and he does a lot of things, and he's here to just provide some just tips and strategies and some of the ways and things that he did on his way to growing his multi-million-dollar medical transport company in the state of Indiana, just to share some tips with you on entrepreneurship and how you can get into that or how you can enhance your game of entrepreneurship. Start recording again. No, I really appreciate that. And you've dropped a lot of good information here for people that are either wanting to get into entrepreneurship or that are already in that maybe can step up their game. And I think you talked about that kind of goes into understanding the market, understanding how things are going and being able to adjust, to your circumstances or whatever, because some people may be doing great one day and then all of a sudden the winds of change come. And then all of a sudden, because you didn't adjust, you're not doing as great, or maybe you weren't doing as great, but then you adjust and make a tweak. And now all of a sudden you're doing well. I think, would you agree that would be if you're an entrepreneur that is continuing to make course corrections is a big part of the game as well?
Well, it's a huge part. I mean, it's a huge part in life. I mean, life is a series of adjustments. I mean, we start with a plan or a goal, and we set some plans and things around it, and then we start in that direction. And then life has a funny way of, hitting us in some kind of way and forces us to go in a different direction. Business is no different. I mean, like I said, it's just a series of adjustments. Mm-hmm. Understanding, all the risk factors that go along with it. Understanding risk is a big part of the success, of an entrepreneur. And beginning a business, you have to, and you have to think about a lot of things when you're starting a business. You have to, if you're going to start a business, you're going to be, when you first start, the owner, the CEO, whatever you want to, call yourself. But the bottom line is you need to be strategic in your thought process. You need to be able to have a vision and be able to, articulate that in such a way or show that in such a way to where people can follow. Mm-hmm. And so, entrepreneurs, are leaders, and and they have to be visionary, and they have to be strategic, so that they can get people to see what they see. And you don't have to be necessarily in entrepreneurship to do that. I mean, there's CEOs and managers and things of that nature that work for other people that have those same skill sets. But typically, the entrepreneur that has employees has to have some vision, has to have some strategic thought process, has to be able to see out there a little bit ahead. When you're riding down the highway and you see the wide load truck, you always see a truck in front of it that's flashing its lights, and that truck's responsibility is to be out in front of that wide load truck, basically cutting the path and making sure that there's no obstacles in the way that are going to impede that truck getting through. The overpasses are tall, high enough. There's no obstacles or obstructions in the way that are going to cause it to have a problem. That's the whole purpose of that truck in front of it. So the CEO or the entrepreneur, that's your purpose, is to make sure that you stay out in front and that you stay ahead to make sure that your business stays viable, because you're strategically out in front, making sure that obstacles are knocked out the way.
That's awesome. Yep, absolutely. I kind of want to just kind of switch just a little bit here. I know you're also a real estate investor, builder, and developer. You also build custom homes. You've been doing that for 25 years as well. And I'd love to hear just a little bit more about that side of the game. And I think I heard somebody say it's always good to have multiple streams of income. Is that the same thing potentially for entrepreneurship, or can you stretch yourself too thin, and you just want to kind of make yourself as niche as possible, or what's the correct strategy that's worked for you?
Well, diversification is always a big part of my portfolio. I've always wanted to and tried to be diverse in the way I approach stuff, and it comes from basically the theory and the basics around building. When you think about building a building, you have to have a plan first. You have to have plans. You can't get a permit without plans, right? So that's the first part of the building process, is the plan. And so, a long time ago when I was in high school, I actually took drafting, and then when I got to college, of course, I played college football, and it precluded me from being able to take the classes that I really wanted. The major I really wanted to go into was architecture. But funny how God works. I went to school and got my business degree, and then 10, 15, 20 years later, I find myself basically doing architecture.
Mm-hmm.
So the beautiful thing about it is that that diversity not only is wonderful and great because it helps to stabilize your business, especially when things may not be going like you want them to in one area. Hopefully you're diversified across multiple streams of different industries where it doesn't affect everything at the same time. But I want to make sure that I get back on this foundation piece, because every building that is a skyscraper, if you will, if it's over 12, 15, 20 stories high, it's pretty deep in the ground, and unless it's sitting on rock. And so bottom line is the foundation has to be tight and strong. And so it's the same way in a business. For every business, or for every couple of million or $1 million or whatever the number is that you grow your business, or however you grow your business, you need to be growing it deep too. You need to be spreading out. You need to have a good foundation. So just, if you can, kind of try to visualize as the building gets bigger, it needs to go deeper in the ground to be able to stabilize that building. Otherwise, the wind will blow it over, right? Because the foundation is not that strong. Like a tree, big trees, they get tall, but the roots are so deep in the ground. That's what holds the tree in place. So, the same thing is true for entrepreneurs and business. I think that it is a good idea, not right away, because you definitely can spread yourself too thin. But that's where, the next thing that I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit is making sure when you start your business that you have the end in mind when you begin the business. And what I mean by that is you put an organizational chart together of how you want your business to look. Even if you're the only person that's working in the business, you need to put together an organizational chart, and your name is by every one of those boxes, because that's what you're doing now. Every one of those boxes, you wear all those hats. But as you grow and as your revenue grows and as your business begins to get more and more successful, you begin to add different, multiple people to your organization in those particular spots, and those job descriptions basically tie back to your mission and your vision, and so therefore everybody's on the same page. And you document. If you document your process and you duplicate yourself, that's the mark of a strong business. When you have great documentation and you can duplicate, somebody that holds on to everything is going to be actually a weak business, because it's only you. You have to be willing to trust other people with your baby. And so, you got to. And so when you look around and see all these successful businesses that have multiple locations, of course one person can't do that. So you have to have process. You have to have procedures. You have to have documented processes that run the business. So therefore, if somebody leaves, you can plug another person in, and the business not be at the mercy of one person.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's very important. For sure. I really appreciate you sharing that. We're going to continue this conversation with Ron Robinson, founder and owner of LCP Transportation. I'm so excited to get into this conversation here. We'll come back and we'll have some more one-on-one conversation with Ron. We'll be right back on GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks.
You are listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN.
Welcome back, everybody, to Green Talk for Brown Folks. I'm your host, Ryan Marshall. We're having a one-on-one conversation with founder and owner of LCP Transportation, Ron Robinson, who is an entrepreneur, a philanthropist. He is a real estate investor and developer, and he does a lot of things, and he's here to just provide some just tips and strategies and some of the ways and things that he did on his way to growing his multi-million-dollar medical transport company in the state of Indiana, just to share some tips with you on entrepreneurship and how you can get into that, or how you can enhance your game of entrepreneurship. One thing I didn't touch on, and then we're going to start closing out the conversation with founder and owner of LCP Transportation, Ron Robinson, is he is a godly man, a family man, has a beautiful wife, my cousin, 4 beautiful daughters, and they are just one great family unit. And he gives back so very much to the community. And I think we talked about at the top of the show, at the top of the interview, was that you're a philanthropist, but you help out inner city youth. And I would just love to, I believe in order to get, you've got to give. And a lot of people may not realize that, but giving back is so important, and you do it in such an incredible way. Could you talk about a little bit about the inner city youth and some of the things and the ways that you give back in the community?
Sure. It's near and dear to my heart because, for one, I kind of see myself in those young inner city youth. I know that, I've always wanted to be successful, and I always was driven. But the only way that I was able to accomplish that is because of a lot of people, a lot of coaches, a lot of teachers, and a lot of people in family that helped me with that goal. But I like to do it kind of in the shadows. I'm not really one to kind of boast about what I do in that regard, is because I feel as though it doesn't require a need to be kind of highlighted so much. But I do a lot of work with inner city youth that are at risk. These youth usually don't have a really good family structure. They very seldom do they have a lot of the different things that we take for granted. So that's where I'm like pulled to, and that's where I'm driven to do my work at, is down in the deep hoods of the city. I used to own a lot of rental properties in the inner city, and so therefore I was down in the city a lot and interacting and rehabbing houses, and so that kind of got me connected to the grassroots individuals that work in those different areas, and so therefore it was easy for me to connect. And when you're just genuine and you feel like really there to help, and you're not there to try to judge or to try to do things that are kind of counterproductive, people accept you, and I think it's easier to get things done. And we've been very successful, and I feel like we got a lot of work to do, but we definitely have helped a lot of young youth to kind of see a way out and to be able to see their way to an actual real future. And the way that we do that is, instead of trying to help a bunch of people one time or 2 or 3 times a year, we've tried to basically stop a certain amount of kids and basically turn their lives around. So we're there in a holistic approach where we basically provide most of the services that they need to do everything. And the main thing we do is try to help them understand through education that education is the key. Is they have to understand that they got to learn, and they got to get to the point where they have true value. And once they are able to, get a trade or understand how to do something and bring value to another person, now they can sustain themselves. It's one thing to feed a person. It's another thing to teach them how to feed themselves. And that's the thing that we focus on is, there's no way for anybody, regardless of who they are, to basically feed everybody that's in need. You got to help people help themselves. And that's kind of the focus. And, what we began to do is put together little small projects and programs where we go in and find things that they can do and that actually bring value to others, like, doing yard work, things in their communities that bring pride to themselves and also to the people in their neighborhoods. People see that, people are willing to pay for that, and so therefore now they actually are getting gainfully employed and learning the entrepreneurial skills that actually help them to be able to take on their own lives and live it the way they want to live it, not have to worry about, going out and doing things that are illegal or things that are going to cause them harm or cause their family harm. So, it's a big task because, it's an elephant, and the only way you can eat an elephant is one bite at a time. If you try to, swallow him whole, he's going to choke you to death and you're never going to get anywhere. But if you're trying to drink the ocean, good luck with that. You got to sip a little bit at a time. And so, we're not trying to change the whole world. We're just trying to change, one person at a time. And so, therefore, that's what we're doing. We have a focus in that regard. And like I said, we have an idea of how we want to, strategize on it, and that's what we've been executing.
Well, I really appreciate your time talking to the listeners here on GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks, and HSRN. And we really, really appreciate you taking a little bit of time to spread some knowledge. It's near and dear to a lot of people, just like it's near and dear to what you're doing. And this is really awesome, living your best life and being your best self going into 2022. So where can people find you, online, social media, website? How can they find you?
Well, as you know, because I am probably a dinosaur when it comes to social media.
Okay.
I have no presence on social media. I don't have any presence. Instagram. I don't have anything. I don't have Facebook
Or your website. What about your website?
You can reach me on an email. I have email and I have a phone number. And obviously, I don't want to put those two on the air. But if somebody needs and wants to reach out and wants to talk further about anything related to what we've talked about today, I'm always open to that. I'm continually talking to new business owners and people that are wanting to get into entrepreneurship. I talk to them on a regular basis, but I do it on my time. Like you said, I got 4 daughters, of which they're all 3 are in college, and so one just graduated and one's going to college, and 2 are already in college. So I have three basically in college at the same time, and that's my focus. When I'm not doing the things that we just talked about for the last hour, I'm focused on them. And that's a big part of what I am and who I am. I'm about changing the tree, and the tree is forever changed. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that, that's the way that it's meant to be done. Our parents did the best they could do with what the resources and the knowledge they had. And so they gave me the ability to go and to learn more and to have better opportunities. And so therefore, I feel it's my obligation to use those skills and that knowledge to the best of my ability. And so therefore, that's what I do. I am on the board of my business school at the University of Kentucky, and I do that because I feel that people that look like me need representation and need to have a voice where there's not people that typically look like me in those positions. And so therefore I do that because I want them to have the opportunities to have somebody that can definitely look out for their best interests. And so that's what I do. And so, it's a long answer to a question, but I am accessible, but I just am not accessible the way most people tend to do it. I just, I'm very private about time. Time is important to me, and time is the most precious thing that you have. And so therefore, I want to make sure that I have my time divided amongst the things that are near and dear to my heart. And part of that is my time with my girls and my wife.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much for the conversation we've had. That's founder and owner of LCP Transportation, risk-based non-emergency transportation. They are a tier 1 provider, Medicaid transport company. He's also a philanthropist. He is a real estate investor, developer, Ron Robinson. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ryan. And like I said at the beginning, I enjoy your telecast. Very informative, extremely professional, and really good at what you do. And I think a lot of people are getting a lot out of these segments. And so I wish you nothing but the best in the future.
Oh, man, I really appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. Happy holidays to you and your family. And really, thanks for coming on. You've got an open invitation anytime you want to come on. And that's Ron Robinson, founder and owner of LCP Transportation, LLC. So excited for the one-on-one. This is GTBF, Green Talk for Brown Folks. I am out of time. My producers are waving at me. Got to cut it, got to end it. And we'll have some more outstanding conversation next week. And we'll hit right back into it. So this is GTBF. Happy New Year.
Thanks for listening to Green Talk for Brown Folks with Ryan Marshall on HSRN. Follow Ryan's social media on Twitter at Ryan H. Marshall and on Instagram, RHM WealthWave. You can also connect with him via email at ryan.marshall@howmoneyworks.com. That's ryan.marshall@howmoneyworks.com. Join him next Friday at 1 p.m. for another edition of Green Talk for Brown Folks.